Friends, let's discuss today the part 8, that is the last verse of the second invocation that we say every week. But before we do, let's have a very brief recall of what the first and the second verse were all about. So we saw that there was an appeal made to the Lords of Liberation and to the rider from the secret place in the first invocation. The Lords of Liberation were 3 in number, if you recall, but there was one which was closer to the earth. And where do they come from? They issue from Shambhala. Then there was an appeal made to the rider from the secret place, who is none other than the Christ, now that we know that he's the one who will be coming, and he is on the path of the world's Savior. And he issues forth from hierarchy. So we've got Lords of Liberation from Shambhala and the Christ from hierarchy. So these are the appeals to these two entities. And the second verse, which was, let the souls of men awaken to the light, right down to let it be spread abroad, O mighty one. The second stanza or verse refers to humanity itself and its reactions and the possibility of the interplay between the two groups of the spiritual lives from the Lords of Liberation and the Christ, that is Shambhala and hierarchy, and humanity. So now let's discuss the third verse, which reads, let light and love and power and death, all the way down to the rule of evil now must end. This third verse indicates the methods to be used and therefore its results. The methods: will to save, the love to carry forth that work, and the active aid. That is Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity. These 3 together, then the result will be that the rule of evil will end. So the methods whereby humanity can play its part and do its share in aiding those cooperating with the forces of light, that is, the Lords of Liberation and hierarchy, Christ in hierarchy, to bring this planetary war to an end and bring peace to Earth. So let's explore each sentence at a time. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. So what does this sentence entail? Well, these 4 words, light, love, power, and death, embody then the practical measures in the process of liberation. So then we come right down to the practical theme of man's individual part in that process of liberation. So these 4 words embody what can be done by men to bring to fruition the mission of the coming one, the rider from the secret place, that is the Christ. So let light and love and power and death be invoked to fulfill the purpose of the coming one, the Christ, to bring humanity to liberation. So these four potencies within the soul of man are available for man's individual use in helping the forces of light, the potencies that he shares with all men to a greater or less degree, according to the expressive power of the soul. But Dike warns us that these are potencies which are not innate in man's personality or the lower self, but only in the higher self, in the soul. The lower self reflects only distorted forms of the higher divine energies. So DK asks us to carefully note the difference between the potencies of contained within the soul of man to the outer potencies of the personality which are distorted. So let's take each method, each word at a time. Let's explore. What does that really mean? The first one is light. Well, the soul is light in its essence, both literally from the vibratory angle, because the soul is a vibration, it's an energy which is of a much higher vibration than the lower three worlds. And philosophically, from the angle of constituting the true medium of knowledge. And the soul is light symbolically, for it is like the rays of the sun which pour out into the darkness. The soul, through the medium of the brain, causes revelation. The second method, love. We are reminded that love is not an emotion or a sentiment, nor is it related to feeling, which is a distortion of true love. Then what is true love? It is the fixed determination to do what's best for the whole of humanity or for the group, if the larger concept of humanity is not possible to us. And to do this, now watch out for this one, and to do this at any personal cost and by means of the uttermost sacrifice. So true love entails sacrifice, remembering that the heart is the quality of the heart. The most important one is sacrifice. Only those who truly love their fellow men can see the issues clear and can grasp the inevitability sorry about that, of the things which must be done to end the present rule of terror and so usher in the new rule of peace. So then what is peace? What does the ageless wisdom mean by peace? Decay defines it as the establishing of right human relations, of the synthetic rapport between or within humanity, with its resultant cooperation. But it's also the correct interplay and the synthetic rapport between the three planetary centers: Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, and an illumined and loving understanding of the will of God as it affects humanity and works out divine intent through humanity. Because if you recall, humanity is the throat center of our planetary logos. We are told that peace has relation to the emotional side of life and was the goal in Atlantean days, where peace was a great spiritual issue. It is usually selfish in purpose, and people long for peace because they want to be happy. But happiness and peace will come when there are right human relations. The peace usually desired and discussed concerns material peace, and in every case is related to the personality. Now, whether it's the individual personality or that of humanity as a whole. Therefore, Decay tells us, I do not deal with peace, but I'm concerned with love, which often disturbs the equilibrium of matter and material circumstance and can consequently work against the so-called peace. The third word, or method, power. It is today becoming of interest to the masses and to the more mediocre types of men, and is hence often misused and turned to selfish purposes. Now, if you remember, we have had 3 Shambhala impacts, which means that the energy of the will to good emanating from Shambhala has impacted directly humanity. That is, it's gone from Shambhala straight to humanity, bypassing hierarchy. And it's this ray 1 of power which is being misused and distorted by the ray 1 personalities, particularly in the realm of politics and government. Because if you recall, ray 1 rules politics, governments, etc. But the power that decay is evoking here is out of the power of the soul. And in this hour of need, it's the ability to know the plan and to work for its furtherance, thus cooperating with those forces which are endeavoring to re-establish order on earth and to end the cycle of aggressive wickedness in which today we find ourselves. The fourth word is death. But death, does it refer to the physical form? No, because that is relatively unimportant. But what decay really means by death here is the power to relinquish, to let go, which becomes in time the characteristic of the pledged disciple. The coming era is coming. So the new ideals, the new civilization, the new modes of life, of education, of religious presentation, and of government are slowly precipitating, and naught can stop them. It's death to personality predilections, all preconceived ideas and ideals, as well as all beloved tendencies, cultivated or ancient habits of thoughts. They must all be brought under the power of death. They can be relinquished with safety and security and no fear of results if the motive of the life is a real and lasting love of humanity. I mean, that sounds simple enough, doesn't it? But how hard is it to let go of our preconceived ideas, or ideas that we've adopted, these ancient thought forms that we tune into and that we what's the word that I'm looking for here? That we rehash over and over and over, and history repeats itself. So these are the thought forms that we need to let go of, so that the new era can emerge, the new civilization based on a new world order of right human relations, and therefore peace can emerge and establish itself. So love, true spiritual love, as the soul knows it, can ever be trusted with power and opportunity, and will never betray that trust. It will bring all things into line with soul vision. So in other words, we need to love with detachment, with harmlessness, and with sacrifice for the good of the whole. That's the type of love that the soul knows and is seeking to establish these concepts or these principles on earth. But it's through us that the individual soul is trying and is seeking to establish these on earth. And now let's look at the methods. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. And the active aid of all who know the truth is also here. So come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Again, we have the energy of the three centers with which we are very familiar: Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, representing power and will, love and knowledge and activity. And we can see them being brought together and their triumphant relation being fused and blended by the mighty one, the coming one, which will blend then these three planetary centers and therefore these three principles. Those who formulated this new and vital invocation believed firmly in the power of humanity upon its own levels of consciousness to express the three divine potencies: will, love, and activity in some measure. So the demand goes forth to the coming one, to the Christ, to aid in the blending of these three upon earth and bringing them into physical plane expression, and thus unite the potencies of the human kingdom with the potencies which he will bring with him for the saving of humanity. But our voiced invocation, friends, must be matched by physical plane service. And this is what DK has to say about that. Only when humanity offers all that it has to give to the service of the sad, the suffering, and the oppressed, and will work actively and intelligently to bring about release, can that full cooperation be established between the inner and the outer potencies, which is so deplorably needed at this time. Unless, for instance, those who can use this invocation parallel its voiced expression with some form of definite physical plane service, and so aid constructively with the forces of light, their efforts will prove negligible. So therefore, friends, we have to stop and think, how do we serve humanity? What are we sacrificing for the sake of humanity? It's up to us to investigate in our personal lives, how do we match our invocation that we do every week? How do we match that? And it's up to us to investigate our personal physical plane service to see whether it is being expressed. And friends, don't think that it's got to be something absolutely extraordinary. It's love selflessly given. It could be as simple as bringing a cake to somebody who's grieving. This is service as well. So every form of love expressed with no thought of return to ourselves is service. So let's remember that, and let's not underestimate the service that we offer to our community, to our family, to our friends, and the sacrifice that you make every week to be present at our meditation. You're sacrificing time. You're sacrificing energy, but you're sacrificing other things to offer yourself, to give selflessly to humanity. This is also another form of service. So don't underestimate your service. We are told that it is humanity alone which can precipitate the new incoming energies from the Lords of Liberation and make possible their activity on earth. It is humanity alone which can open the door onto the physical plane for the rider from the secret place. And it is humanity which determines its own fate. So each act of love made by us individually, we are then precipitating, we are helping these new incoming energies to be precipitated on earth. And we are opening the door through our love for the Christ consciousness to be expressed on earth. So let's ponder on that thought of our role in opening the door to the Christ consciousness, to the Christ precipitating these energies on earth. How do we contribute to these energies being precipitated on earth? And friends, if you do meditate on that, it will give you the power that you need to continue, because then you will realize how you contribute to the energies from the Lord of Liberations and from our leader, our Christ. That will give you the power. That will give you a lot more confidence in what you're doing. And it will bring down the power of the soul even more so. So think about that. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. We are told, if the disciples and the men of goodwill actually now play their proper part, symbolically they can put up an impregnable wall of spiritual light which will utterly confound the enemy of humanity. It will be a wall of energy, vibrating, protective, and at the same time of such power that it can repulse those who seek to pass in their pursuit of evil and wicked objectives. DK here is speaking in symbols, but his meaning is very clear to us. And we do that in our meditation. What are the energies that we're invoking? It is Buddhi, the will to good. And it has the power to break down resistance around us and to eliminate evil. So this is the impregnable wall of spiritual light when we invoke the energy of Buddhi. From the plane of harmony, and therefore from the plane of peace. Let's very briefly make the distinction between goodwill and will to good. Goodwill is a life ruled and conditioned by the soul. It's an expression of the Christ consciousness and life. And again, any gesture of goodwill, bringing a cake to your neighbor in need, or helping somebody to write a letter, or to offer a shoulder to cry on. This is the Christ consciousness pouring through you. And these are expression of the soul. They are manifestation of your soul expressing itself on the physical plane. But will to good is a life ruled and conditioned by the spiritual triad. It's a responsiveness to monadic inflow. Goodwill, while goodwill is focused in the masses through kindness and good intention, but the will to good is focused in the new group of world servers. And that includes us, because we are seeking to act as if we were the soul. And therefore being the expression of monadic intent. Goodwill is a quality of the mass of well-meaning people in the world, emotional, idealistic, motivated by kindness and good intention, but focused on the astral plane. But the will to good is the quality of the new group of world servers, initiates, world disciples, trained thinkers, and the intelligent aspirants and disciples, focused on the mental plane. Goodwill is the second aspect of will in the lower echelons of humanity, while will to good is being the second aspect of will in the higher echelons of humanity. So focused will to good can and must evoke the Shambhala energy and can be used for the arresting of the forces of evil. Do you see why in these meditations, every week, we are invoking the will to good? We're invoking Buddhi, contained within the jewel of our group soul. To arrest the forces of evil. This will to good is dynamic because it comes from the monad, the spiritual triad. It's powerful and effective. And we not only have to believe it, friends, but we've got to know. That's the difference between the masses and disciples. Mass believe, disciples know. So the will to good of the world knowers is the magnetic seed of the future, we are being told. It will bring the new civilization to birth on earth. So this is why these meditations, or this meditation that DK gave us in the externalization of hierarchy, is so crucial, friends. Because there we are invoking Buddhi, we're invoking the will to good. And we are working and focused on the mental plane. The blended invocation and the united call from the different levels of human consciousness will bring a mighty appeal to bear upon the hidden centers of the saving force. So together, disciples, initiates, and aspirants, together with the masses, both on the mental plane and on the astral plane, this blended appeal will bring down the will to good from Shambhala and from the Christ. And the result is the ending of the present situation, because these two have cooperated together. Thus, Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity will stand consciously related and dynamically in touch with each other. The will of God, the love of God, and the intelligence of God will thus fuse and blend on earth and in relation to human problems. Conditions will consequently be brought about, and energies will be set in motion, which will end the rule of evil and bring war to an end through the victory of the forces of light, recognized and aided by humanity. So the result of these three, the will, the love, and the intelligence of God, from Shambhala, hierarchy, and humanity, all these three being combined and blended by the Christ consciousness will result in the rule of evil being ended. The power of humanity unified will vanquish the forces of separation. So DK tells us, with these thoughts upon the new invocation, I would leave you to work out these ideas in the recesses of your reflective consciousness. I would ask you to use the invocation frequently and with dynamic intent and true understanding, and thus cooperate by its use, by your love of humanity, and by your activity on the side of the forces of light, with those on the outer and inner planes who are seeking to drive aggression back to the place from whence it came, and to end the rule of hate and fear. Thank you, friends. I really appreciate us coming together